Here we go. We're dropping in for a class on it's not just in the Anusara world, that it's the practice of seesaw principle has taken hold. I don't know if it started with Anusara yoga 20 something years ago or more, but that's where it did in my life. And the idea of seesaw principle, if you think of a playground seesaw and how you've got a focal point in the middle of two long boards. And at that focal point, if one side becomes more weighty, the other side will rise, and then vice versa. So think of that focal point. You can use your elbow right now as an example. And that will be the focal point between the lower arm and the upper arm. And if we lift the end of the arm bone, the lower arm bone up, then you'll see how you get a bend. And this healthy bend is really good for joints. And when we go in the opposite way, when we try to, as elbows and knees do, if you really extend your arm out and see if you can lower the wrist higher than the elbow joint, this is called hyperextension. And this is where a joint is where bones meet in a place where they can find, in this case, in your knee and your elbow, you've got a hinge joint. Hinge joints don't like to be hyperextended. And when they do, the bone starts to rub up on the bone where the bones meet, and it creates too much tightening and constriction and friction. It also impacts what's happening up above. In this case would be the shoulder joint, or in the hip, or down below in your ankle or your wrist. In all these examples, it's very simple to think of. The key instruction could be bend your knee or bend your elbow. And instantly we now have employed the wisdom of seesaw principle, and we'll play with that throughout this short little practice today, particularly as it relates to the lower limbs of your body. So as you close your eyes, take yourself to the playground in your mind and let yourself just open up to the joy of riding a seesaw. I think most of us have. Maybe it's been a long time, but so we open to that part of ourselves that likes to explore, that likes to have fun, that says, yes, I'm going to go for a ride, that says, let me experience what it feels like to play in my body. And this, in the Anusara world, we could liken to the key opening principle of open to grace. So let yourself open and expand to the yes of being playful. Draw your hands to your heart. And if you softly bow your head down towards your upward turned fingers, you'll experience a way to fill in your back body. So by taking one part above and bowing it in, another part below can find fullness and expansion. For a lot of newer yogis or tight-hipped, tight-backed yogis, we need to sit up on a blanket in order to get the knee higher than or level to the hip. And this will create a softening in the hip crease, hip joint. So take care of yourself like that. Pay attention. If your hips feel tight, if your back feels tight, sit on a blanket. And now smooth out your breath. As one of the key things we want to remember when we're diving into biomechanics is not to get caught up in the details, but to remember to stay fluid and open. Hmm. And we'll take that familiar sound of Om, and there are many of us in this live class who know the Anuswara invocation. So I'll invite you to join me in that. And if you've never heard it, short translation is it's about opening to the awe and wonder of the energy that streams through us and creating the capacity to allow it to move more freely. And when we do so, we remember that spark, that joy. That is why we come to the practice and to life in general. So deep breath in, big long breath out. Big, sweet, playful inhale. Om Namah Shivaya Gurave Sachidananda Murtaye Nishprapanchaya Shantaya Niralambaya Tejase. Oh. So as you open your eyes, drink in the light and the beauty around you and come to all fours on your sticky mat. Move my blanket to the back and my mat blocks to the front. Now, if you tuck your toes here and then tuck your toes again, we've created seesaw principle. And that's where the ankle loop rises higher up and away from the floor than the top of the shin, where the shin meets the knee joint. Now, if you push your hands down and forward and move your upper thigh bones back, you'll also find a seesaw principle where the base of your femur bone, where it meets your knee, moves forward at a faster rate than the crease of your hips. And so the body likes this. The body likes to find where that focal point, we'll call it your knee, can be supported. And then the hips can move freely back and freely forward. And the beauty of an all fours posture is your hip socket is in its most anatomically neutral space. So now you can take your cow and your cat, and as you draw the buttocks down and under, you might notice how it starts to want to press the femur bone forward. And if you pull the sit bones back and up, you might notice how it moves the top of the femur bone posteriorly toward your hamstring. Now step your right foot forward and climb up, hands to thigh. With your hands right on your knee, push down through your front foot and see if you can energetically press the base of your femur bone where it meets your knee upward into your hand. What this will do is firm your hamstring muscles, and it will start to seat the top of the femur bone downward. So as we lift the knee, the upper femur bone seesaws downward, and that should feel good and actually strengthening. It starts to employ the muscles in your core, your hamstrings, your abductors on the inner thighs. Now, if you tuck the back toe and lift the knee a little bit, press the back knee forward towards the front of the mat, and that will also root the upper femur bone posteriorly towards your glute. Maintain that. Extend from your hips down through both legs and see if you can lift the upper back thigh bone faster than the knee joint. Good. And lower that knee. Inhale to reach up, touch the sky. Gently drag the front foot down as you lift the front knee up. Gently drag the back knee forward. And then extend and lift and lengthen. Dig deep, 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 deep breaths. And with inhale, hands to the earth. Exhale, step forward. Bend your knees. That's one of the fastest ways for a teacher to say, create the shin loop that moves the top of the shin forward. And when that happens, the upper thigh bone will start to root back. And that is a great and effective way to create lumbar curve. Inhale, root the tailbone down. And the tailbone became the seesaw focal point. Lift up, touch the sky, hands to heart. Deep breath in, open, arms high. Bend your knees. Try to press the knees up as you bow forward. That'll make the legs super strong. And then touch the earth. From your hips, push through your feet, lengthen the spine. And with exhale, right leg steps back, knee to the earth, hands to front thigh. Pause and settle and find a deep breath in. Pushing down through your front foot, lift energetically that front knee up until your hamstrings contract, and with the back leg strengthening, the femur bone will draw downward. That's good. Press the back knee forward and deep breath in. With an inhale, lift the back knee and press it forward. Try to lift the upper thigh bone faster than the back knee. Now we'll roll the front buttocks under. So we're steady and strong. Keep lifting the front knee up as you stretch the arms. Deep breath. Full breath in. And with your inhale, hands to the earth. Exhale, step forward. Shake out your head. And just let your body get loose here. Bend and straighten the legs. Breathe. And just find a playful moment where the legs get to become like hydraulic pumps, moving energy down, up, down, up. Bring your hands to your upper knees. Bend the knees. Good. Pressing down through your feet, try to pull the knees up into your hands. And that's a great, effective, short cue that will help you and or your students find a really healthy chair pose where the energy right at the crease of the hips can relax. And now lift the arms to cactus. All right. Deep, full breath in. In about 27 years experience of teaching, one thing I know when I tell people to straighten their legs, a lot of people push the knee joint backward. I don't want you to do that. Pull the legs straight up and try to keep pressing those knees forward and up, even as you stretch the legs to straight. Hold that power. Deep breath in, holding right wrist, lean to the left. Inhale, center. Exhale, other way. Inhale, center. Drop back down to chair. And as you push through the feet, lift the knees. Think of that instead of lowering the hips. Hands to heart. Pressing through left foot, lift your right heel. Deep breath in, pull the belly back. Now really trust yourself, eyes in one place. Step that right foot way back. Turn the heel and open to a warrior two. Set the left hand right above the knee. Push down through the foot and see if you can lift that knee up. It's an energetic isometric action. Maintain that and forearm to thigh. Stretch the right arm forward. Seesaw principle of the arm, push the hand energetically down as if you're pushing it into a table, and that should float the armpit higher. Now draw the arm into your shoulder and stretch it overhead. Fluid breath. Inhale, raise up. To straighten your front leg, push through the knee or the knee down to the inner heel. And then drag from the big toe to the inner heel as you straighten that leg. Widen the toes, change sides. And as you bend the knee, don't think of pressing the knee toward your toes. Think of pressing the knee up toward your nose. Deep breath in. Now the front leg has this inherent seesaw principle, so it's pretty easy to create a bigger experience with the knee lifting and the femur bones settling. The back leg's usually the problem child on the playground. So I want you to bend your back knee forward toward your toes. And see if you can keep that knee moving forward and push the upper thigh bone back. That'll cause you to stick your glutes, your butt back behind you. And there's your seesaw. The ankle moves back, the knee moves forward, and the upper thigh moves back. That's healthy. Now, can you maintain that relationship as you pull the leg up from the foot to the hip, like you did when you were in mountain pose? Forearm to thigh. Left arm forward, press it down. Deep breath in, floating the armpit, draw the shoulder blade onto your back, and now extend the arm. Full, beautiful breath. And anchoring down into Mother Earth, playfully lift up, warrior two. Push down through front knee to front heel, and then drag from big toe to inner heel as you straighten the leg. Heel toe, both legs straight. Pull the feet to the midline between. Big wide breath. Bend the knees slightly. Keep pressing the kneecaps up as you reach the heart forward. And hands to the earth. Now squeeze the inside edges of the feet together and bow into who you are today. I'm going to turn to frame your front left foot in lunge. Pivot, lift the back heel. Bend the back knee, lift the front knee, press the back knee forward, and now sink down through the bones and rise up. Inhale. Full breath in, and one long exhale to downward dog. Exhale. Feet together, knees together. Bend your knees. Press the knees forward towards your nose and up towards your heart. And that should strengthen your core. From your pelvis now, push through the heels and pull the hands down to plank. Pull the heart forward. Mindful of hyperextending the knees, give the knees a gentle, very small bend and press forward towards your wrists. As you lower, reach through your heels. Lift and lengthen one leg at a time. And tuck your toes. Tuck your toes again. Now push your knees towards the floor and your hands down into the mat. Press the knees forward and down, and that should lift your navel. Now lengthen your tailbone towards your heels. Pull the belly forward, little baby cobra. Ooh, little baby. And now push down through the knees and the hands to lift the waistline. Down dog. Inhale, right leg high. Bend the back knee and use the back leg like you did moving to lunge, but push from the hip to the glute as you step right foot forward. There you go. Climb it up. Bend the back knee forward, press the front knee up, pull into the core, and as you lengthen the tailbone, rise up. Deep breath in. Now see if you can, and I use that phrase with skill. I don't expect everyone to get it. See if you can press the front knee higher up and feel how the head of the femur bone wants to nestle further down towards the glute. Deep breath here. One long exhale, downward dog. Feet together, knees together, bend the knees. Keep the knee energy pressing forward and up even as you straighten into plank. Lower down to the belly. Lengthen, lift one leg at a time. And then tuck your toes. And the reason I'm having you tuck your toes is it builds in something called ankle loop, shin loop, thigh loop. Now pull the tailbone towards your heels and pull the belly forward just a little bit. Little baby cobra. Deep breath in. Press the knees forward and down. Forward towards your wrists, down into the mat. And that'll make lifting the kidneys up to all fours very easy. Downward dog with inhale. Inhale to your knees. Have a seat on a blanket. And find a strap if you have one. If you don't have a strap, don't worry about it. With your feet right out in front of you and your knees bent, place your thenar eminence, that's where your thumb connects to your wrist. Place that part of your hand underneath the knee joint. And gently press up with your thenar eminence and lift the belly, lift your chest, and then squeeze your shoulder blades so that your neck feels nice and free. Close the hinge joint of your knees around your thumbs and sit back. Spread your toes, flex your ankles. Pull your heels toward your glutes. There you go. So we use seesaw principle to create contraction, and contraction usually offers some form of expansion somewhere else in the physical body. So by contracting the knee joint and pulling the heels towards the glutes, the hamstrings fired, and the antagonist muscle right here in your hip flexor probably, hopefully got to relax a little bit. Now, as you straighten your right leg, keep pushing that femur bone, your hamstring, into your hand and see if you can lift the ankle faster than you extend the knee. And bend. Now squeeze in as if you were magnetizing that left heel towards your glute. Try to pull it away. Yeah, there you go. And release. Now sit up tall. Extend the right leg, not all the way. And I had you sit on a blanket for a reason, even if you don't need it. It's very easy for people who are very flexible to compress the back of the knee joint all the way down to the mat in this case. And what that does, if the knee moves down faster, then we usually bind in the hip, and that creates more problems in the hip and the knee. So push through your heel, spread your toes, and lift the top of the knee so that it rises faster than the head of the femur bone. Place your strap around the ball of your right foot. pressing this foot into the strap, use your arms as resistance. Push the heel down and energetically drag your heel backward like you did when you were seated. And that should help the hinge joint of the knee get stronger. Now, from the buttocks, press through the foot, and you can bow forward a little or a lot without hyperextending that knee. And there should be some nice distribution of stretch along the whole of your back leg. Deep breath in, big breath out. Inhale to rise. Switch legs. You can let the leg relax for a minute and notice. If you're very sensitive, if you're super in the game of being in your body, you might notice that puts a little pressure in the knee. So muscles send signals to your brain that being in your body is a good idea. Push through your heels, spread your toes, flex your ankle, and lift the top of the knee. So this seesaw principle rooted the femur bone, which is very healthy. Maintain that. Press your foot into your strap. Now this other foot that's on the floor, gently push it down. Gently pull the heel like you did when you were up, pull the heel towards your glute, and that'll pull your femur bone down into the hamstring. Honor that as you bow forward. And oftentimes when we create integration in the whole of the body, we find less capacity to stretch and open at first. We've eliminated a release valve by creating accountability to structural integrity. It can be mildly frustrating at first because you might be used to going deeper in a pose, and maybe that deep depth is at the expense of a knee joint or a hip joint. Inhale, come on up. Now extend both legs. Sit up tall, press through your heels. That will root the ankle so that bending the knees feels a little more supported. Now pressing the heels down, push your sits bones into your blanket. And deep breath in, take the elbows wider. From your pubic bone, pull the pubic bone back to your tailbone so you keep some curve in your back, and we'll take Paschimottanasana, the forward fold. And if you can grab your feet, that's great. If you can't lower down without compromising the integrity, just sit up where it's good and let your body unfold. No bullies. Don't bully your body. And deep breath in. Release the strap as you sit up. Place your feet on your mat. Place your fingertips behind you. Push down through your feet and energetically pull the feet back towards your buttocks, and let your buttocks move a little bit towards your heels. The whole back chain of the leg got stronger, and now you can bend your elbows a little bit so we're not hyperextending the elbow joint, and then press the elbows behind you and draw the top of the throat back. And here's a sweet shoulder opener. Deep breath in, long breath out. Now see if you can turn the peace fingers mostly forward but slightly out and plant the palm. As you drag the feet down and backward, press the knees up towards the sky before you lift your hips. Deep breath in here. I know it's hard on your shoulders. So pull the top of your throat back towards the back of the mat, right where your chin meets your neck. Inhale, hollow out your hips and bring the hips down to the earth. Sit up tall, extend left leg, pull the right foot in like a tree pose. Now we'll Take the hands and manually expand the bent leg first from the inner thigh to the sit bone, and then the straight leg from the sit bone to the knee. Take the right hand to the outer shin. Pull the shin in towards the midline of the body by bending your elbow and squeezing your shoulder blade. So we use seesaw principle in the upper arm. Bow in, mind to heart, heart to body. And like you did before, keep the back of the knee slightly elevated, pressing the top of the knee right above the kneecap towards your heart. Then you can press your sit bones down and your tailbone down, and you'll get a good healthy stretch along the whole of your hamstring, I hope. Deep breath in. Inhale, lift up. So one distinction between loops and spirals in Anusara yoga. So if you do this with your arms, this is called the sagittal plane. The body moves front plane to back plane. This is sagittal, and the loops only move in the sagittal plane. So if you stretch your right leg out and pull the left leg in, the straight leg is going to move more in the sagittal plane, where we're moving only in this up and down, fore and aft. So you root the heel, lift the top of the knee, anchor the head of the femur bone. The spirals, this is a big difference. The spirals, if we expand the bent leg back and wide, we are moving the femur bone into the back plane of the body and expanding the sit bone. So now we're going out into the transverse plane. And same thing you can do with the straight leg. So we have expansion and contraction by drawing the buttocks down, hand to shin, deep breath in. The loops come in as refinement principles to the spirals. So once we create a big broadening and lumbar curve and create some strength through the buttocks, more on that bent leg, wrap the buttocks flush down and under. Then we can come in and make sure we're fine tuning the bones and the way they interface like gears on a clock. So the ankle and the shin loop and the thigh loop and the pelvic loop all intersect where the bones meet. And it's our job as empowered, wise, anatomically oriented yogis to dive into the biomechanics and let it make the practice feel good and more playful. Inhale, rise up. Back to Paschimottanasana, extend left leg. Flex your toes, your ankles, push through your heels, and make sure there's space under the back of the knee. With the top of the knee rising up, push the buttocks down. Use your hands on the floor. Using the hands, push the buttocks down by pressing the heels, fingertips. Maintain that and pull the heart forward any amount. Fingertips to toe tips. Elbows wide, shoulder blades strong. And now as you traverse the landscape of your hamstrings, your back body, just think about refining the pose breath by breath with a newly inspired awareness of shin, thigh, and pelvic loop. Inhale, rise up. Thank you. Namaste.